Hi, we will talk a little bit about Anima, a fabulous plugin, an external program which is fabricated by Axis Design for the insertion and creation of sequences of animated characters with control of collision and other behaviors. We will make an introduction tutorial where we show the basic principles, how you import scenes and how it interacts with 3D Studio Max, and how you can send a scene to render in an easy way. To start, Anima is not only a plugin of 3D Studio Max, it is also a standalone version, which is Anima Studio, which we are working with now. Anima Studio is not a general purpose software, it's a specialized software for insertion and control of animated characters within a 3D scene, which allows to set up and control precisely their behavior with special tools. In any scene you have to start with a scenario where the characters will move. Here in Anima you can create the path along which the characters will move. These figures will then interact with the 3D scene and with the objects of this scene. It is recommended to start with the 3D Max scene. We prepared here a simple scene to show you here the possibilities of the plugin. This scene can be much more complex than this one. It is good to have a low-res scene at least to see how the characters interact with the objects, and finally it can be eliminated if you need it. We will now export this object so that we can send it to Anima. We will send it in OBJ file format, which is a standard for geometries. Once we are back in Anima, we right-click and import the model. We select the OBJ file. Here you will be asked some import patterns on geometry, about conversion of geometry. In our case we chose different scales, and to show you here we will downscale to a reasonable scale. Here you see the pre-visualization of the scene, which is of quite nice quality, and now we can start to create paths. Making click, we can now start to draw on the scene, and we can see how the path adapts to geometry in altitude and detection of obstacles. Let's get up here, turn here and finish over there. Right click and close. Another option, we will now select the path which is descending on the ramp, which crosses the first path and finally stops here. Click and escape. We can now modify the path moving some control points. It is very intuitive. For example, you can stretch the curves. Further on you will receive much more demos on the use and the special details of Anima. Here you find the options for the creation of the characters, like number of actors, and different options to create noise in the scene. We will now generate some actors. We now generate the actors. Automatically Anima creates actors who in a natural way move around the scene. They move along the created path and they will negotiate. We have so lots of options to create dispersions. In case we consider this scene as okay and we like the result, Here we have the options for the generation of the crowd. We can select the number of actors, as well as different options which allow us to create noise within the scene. We will now generate characters. Here we have the first characters generated. Next step, generation of actors. We now want the actors to be integrated in our 3D Studio Max scene and that they will be rendered. We save the scene. Now we change to 3D Studio and we simply have to import the scene. We now search Anima, the sequence of Anima, and there we search a file with the extension aniproj. 3D Studio Max understands this simply scene and only asks us to confirm the import. Anima already brings materials which are pre-configured for the most common render engines. It identifies that we pre-configured V-Ray and we simply apply the materials. We now have imported all the actors and the Anima scene in 3D Studio, and by pushing play we can see the crowd interacting with the scene. In the scene configuration we can see that there are different characters, and we see this scene is the gizmo object which controls all configurations of the Anima scene. You can configure the pre-visualization of object, the velocity of the characters. You can also select each character and eliminate it if we don't like how it interacts with the scene. Let's call the render engine. It is pre-configured, so it should be ready for render. There shouldn't be any problems with lighting or object. We simply use the standard plugin for render. Let's check the scene. It does not detect any errors. Let's start the render. The scene will be compressed. It is collected and sent to RenderFlow together with the Anima scene. The scene arrived at RenderFlow, as you can see in the synchro notification. In a few minutes it will be ready for render. As the scene enters in the render queue, it changes to active. By pushing the details button you can see the evolution in gigahertz, or you change to the control console where you can check the evolution frame by frame. Here you see the assignation of frames to render nodes and you can control the final result. Once finished, Synchro downloads automatically the result to your computer. Here you can see the preview of the frames, and in the meantime the frames will be automatically downloaded to your computer. Now they are ready for editing. Thanks a lot.